Welcome to the final JemReviews video of 2016. Now let's be frank about 2016. It's been a fucking memorable year. Memorable for all the wrong reasons, sure, but definitely memorable. Hell, this year has been nothing more than a giant punchline. No, really, here's an example. And the Chicago Cubs have just blown a 3-1 lead to the Florida Marlins, who will face the New York Yankees in the World Series. Jeez, I wonder when the Cubs will finally win a World Series. They'll win the World Series the year Donald Trump becomes president. Ha! Yeah, that'll be the year. See what I mean? Not only that, this year has had a pretty sick sense of humor. So what better way to end a year that had a sick sense of humor? By talking about a show that has one of the all-time best sick sense of humor. I swear, there is nothing this show can't do. They can mock anything, they're damn near impossible to critique, and they make killer Christmas episodes. For me personally, it's a tradition to watch South Park on Christmas, because the majority of their Christmas specials are great. Now, since there are only 8 Christmas specials so far, I was originally planning a top 5 list on these specials, but it felt unfair to exclude any of them, so I thought I'd put them all on a list that just ranked them from the least good to the best. And when I say least good, that's exactly what I mean. Even the episode I think can qualify as the worst South Park Christmas special, I still find watchable. That's just how good the show is. And by the way, yes, I am excluding the first 2 South Park episodes, even though they both revolved around Christmas. Anyway, let's start off my first ever installment of JemReviews Worst to First.
Christmas time is once a year. Every critter holds it dear.
Oh boy, did people hate this episode when it first aired. Now, I know I'm not one to talk right now, since I'm considering it the worst South Park Christmas special, but like I said, I don't even think it's bad. I just think it's very But with that said, it's the only episode on here I think is only This episode is about Kyle feeling like technology and social media is taking away family bonding time, especially around the holidays. And yeah, that sounds like a pretty legit complaint. So he starts a movement that gets the attention of a lot of celebrities, resulting in an event called Washington Redskins Go Fuck Yourself Holiday Special. I mean, South Park's usually a little bit more creative than that. And it features a bunch of holograms performing at the event, a reference to the Michael Jackson hologram at the Billboard Music Awards. And the holograms start taking over.
Yes, they made a copy of me and they don't want me around anymore. They're about to do something big and they need famous artists to be controlled for it.
Now, why do people hate this episode? Well, some of the biggest complaints I've heard have been that South Park is advertising the celebrities as opposed to making fun of them. Now, they make references to the Bill Cosby rape allegations and all that, but the jokes are pretty weak, pretty typical, and just not very South Park-like. There's also a bunch of references to the police brutality deaths of Eric Gardner and Michael Brown, which I guess are a little better executed, though not by much.
We've arrested a black man who was snooping around the old Jefferson estate. Did you choke him? Yes. Did you shoot him? Yes. So what's the problem?
And of course, let's not forget this celebrity cameo.
How's it going, bros? This is PewDiePie.
What the hell?
Yep, PewDiePie's in this episode. Alright, I have nothing against PewDiePie. He's a great guy and I find him very funny at times. But his parts are not executed well at all. I guess he's basically the hero of the episode, or at least one of the heroes, because he stops Cartman and he's kind of the final nail in ending these producers' evil holograms. But that plays into what I mean by South Park advertising celebrities instead of mocking them. I mean, PewDiePie already has a goldmine of things to make fun of because he's a millionaire who became a millionaire by just commentating on video games. That's not a bad thing by any means, but come on, it's South Park. That seems right up their alley as something to make fun of. So putting him in as the hero and blatantly promoting him while not touching an ounce of that gold comes off as very pandering, and that's just not what South Park is supposed to be about.
No matter what we think, it's not just a passing trend. We need to realize that the new generation of entertainment is here. And I think that's great.
And probably the biggest complaint, and it's not a bad complaint at all, is that this episode was clearly rushed. And even Matt and Trey themselves admitted it was rushed. They even stated they initially wanted to split this into 3 episodes, but because they were short on time, they just crammed what they had into 2 episodes, the other one being #rehash. And they felt they could have done this episode better with a little more time.
He needs to have more time.
But in all fairness, they spend, 6 days working on these episodes? I'm honestly surprised there isn't more episodes like this that they straight up rushed to get done on time. And even though I agree it's the worst Christmas special by South Park, it seems to me like it's one episode that could have managed to have been 10 times worse. And in all fairness, there are some really funny moments, and Kyle's poem at the start is actually really smart and thought-provoking. But aside from that, yeah, it's a really disappointing episode.
Sorry guys, I gotta go. The world needs Cartman Brad.
Christmas time is once a year. Every critter holds it dear.
This one is just a collection of South Park Christmas songs hosted by Mr. Hankey, who I'll be talking about a lot in this video since he's basically the face of the South Park Christmas specials. Some of the songs included in this episode are the Dreidel song, Christmas Time in Hell, Mr. Mackey's Sugar Plum Fairy song, and countless others. Honestly, that's all I have to say. No, there's really nothing to add, it's just a collection of South Park songs. A good number of them are really nice though. I really like the Dreidel song, Cartman's Oh Holy Night, and Mr. Garrison's Christmas Around the World. Honestly, if you're a big fan of the South Park songs, this should hold up nicely for you. And it's definitely a decent thing to watch for the holidays. But that's really all I have to say about it.
Ding dong, ding dong. Good.
Christmas time is once a year. Every critter holds it dear.
Okay, here's an example of how great these episodes are. Originally, while doing this, I had this up in the top half of the list. But after rewatching and reanalyzing some of these episodes, this episode got pushed back heavily. And with that said, I still love the hell out of this episode. In this episode, Cartman, after finding out he's been so ungodly bad that he won't be receiving Christmas gifts, tries to bring Christmas to Iraq as a way to clear his bad rep with the big man. Mr. Hankey, who, like I said, is going to be talked about a lot in this video, helps the boys out with this by taking them to talk to Santa Claus. Santa agrees to help, but when flying over Baghdad, he gets shot down, kidnapped, and tortured by Al-Qaeda for bringing commercialization to Iraq, and because they think he might know what America is planning to do to Iraq. And the boys resort to asking Jesus to help them out.
We have to get him out of there.
Do you know a way?
Yes, I think I do. We need a little Christmas miracle.
Yeah, the second those doors open, you know this episode is about to kick ass, and it fucking does.
My children, you should know something. I'm packing.
I really think this is a great episode, but what lowered it on this list for me was that it was just a little too slow. The best part is really the last 5 minutes, and the first 75% is decent, but being a decent episode in a sea of fantastic episodes means regardless, you're not as good as the rest. But with that said, I do highly recommend this episode, and those last 5 minutes make the episode so worth watching. That and this as well.
Hey guys, what's going on? Oh, hey Kenny. Dude, where have you been?
Yeah, this episode brought Kenny back. That's another thing to love about it.
Christmas time is once a year. Every critter holds it dear.
This episode actually has a very different take on Christmas. It's about the people of South Park not caring about buying presents on Christmas, and instead celebrating Christmas with friends and family.
I guess this year everyone's content to celebrate with candles and love.
Yeah, it's a Christmas without any commercialization, and it's seen as a bad thing. Now, while that might be kind of a weird take on Christmas, and it's probably even weirder for me to enjoy that this is seen as a bad thing, since I myself don't always enjoy Christmas specials that focus around the true meaning of Christmas being gifts, the episode actually uses this to work in the spirit of Christmas, which was Matt and Trey's second draft episode of South Park. The main story of this episode is the boys creating the Spirit of Christmas short, which is so epic to see. And it works out well as a satire of Christmas commercialization, and as a satire of South Park itself.
Okay, woo mouth again? 1, 2. So how much done is that? We wish you a merry. Oh, Jesus Christ.
The boys also rely on Mr. Hankey to help them because they feel he's the biggest part of bringing Christmas back to how it was. Since, in this universe, he's basically a symbol of Christmas, and Mr. Hankey and his newly introduced family agree to help.
Well, it's decided, kids. Tomorrow we're gonna bring back the spirit of Christmas.
This episode is fucking littered with memorable South Park moments. Like, for example, there's that epic Circle of Poo song, which I included on my top 10 South Park songs list.
I'm the pool of the antelope that flows onto the ground.
Becomes the grass of tomorrow, which the quizzers turn around.
The scenes with the boys recording their audio for their short is such a trip to watch, especially seeing how they throw in some really funny lines from that short.
Don't you oppress me, fat boy!
Don't call me fat, butt fucker!
Then don't belittle my people, you fucking fat ass!
Don't you oppress me, fat boy!
Don't call me fat, butt fucker!
Then don't belittle my people, you fucking fat ass!
And, well, there's this scene with Butters.
Well, Butters, would you like to slap my titties around? Oh, well, no thanks, ma'am. I'll get in trouble again.
Overall, this is one of South Park's smartest and most well-put-together Christmas specials.
Christmas still is about one very important thing.
Yeah, ham.
No, not ham! Hey, why the hell did you have me say that?
Christmas time is once a year. Every critter holds it dear.
In this episode, when Kyle's adopted brother Ike's parents come back to take Ike to live with them thanks to these new rules by the Canadian Prime Minister, the boys go to Canada to get the Prime Minister to change his rules. And when the boys get to Canada, the episode becomes a parody of The Wizard of Oz, with a bunch of different Canadians assuming the rules of the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, the Lion, and best of all, the Munchkins.
His brother is somewhere. The question is where? He must talk to the new Prime Minister and get his brother home back there.
I don't know how you guys feel about the Canadians, but I love them. Like, I fucking love these Canadian characters. They are some of the funniest characters in South Park. And The Wizard of Oz is, without a doubt, the most perfect thing for them to be in a parody of.
You just have to follow the road.
Which road?
This is Canada. We only have one road.
Follow the only road. Follow the only road.
There's only one road in Canada. We call it the road, the only road in...
Yeah, the songs in this episode is what helps put it this high. I mean, they were all too short for me to include on my South Park songs list, but they're all great parodies and they're all really catchy and funny. And I love the way they're animated, it just fits so well. Even the boys play really well into the parody because they are so annoyed and fed up with these characters that it just adds to the humor every time the Canadians get as over the top as possible. There's also a really nice twist as to who the Prime Minister is, and it definitely caps off the episode perfectly. Not sure how many people would put this episode as high as I did, but this episode struck a chord with my sense of humor so perfectly that I couldn't resist giving it such a high honor.
Oh well, maybe we'll get to have a Christmas adventure next year.
Christmas time is once a year. Every critter holds it dear.
This episode is about the boys joining Cartman and his mother to visit Cartman's extended family. That alone makes this episode great. A family of Cartmans. The humor just writes itself when you do that. While the boys are sleeping in the basement, one of Cartman's uncles breaks out of jail and shows up with a fellow inmate.
Don't worry, he's a good guy. Oh, hi, boys. I'm Charlie. Charlie Manson.
Okay, that's ingenious. No, really, I could totally see a Cartman family member being buddies with Charles Manson. It's basically a perfect pairing. The boys want to go to the mall to see Mr. Hankey, and because no one will drive them, Charles Manson offers to drive them. And when the boys realize it's not the real Mr. Hankey, they end up starting a riot while Charles Manson ends up seeing a Christmas special parody of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and becomes moved by the Grinch becoming good after finally understanding the true meaning of Christmas.
Wow, man, that's beautiful. He was evil, but now he's good.
Now, even though it's touchy to use someone like Charles Manson and portray him in this kind of light, it makes sense why they chose him. Now, if it's not clear, this is a satire of A Charlie Brown Christmas, or known by its other name, Merry Christmas Charlie Brown, one of the most famous Christmas specials ever that also questions what the true meaning of Christmas is, and coming to the conclusion that the true meaning of Christmas is goodwill, and how understanding the true meaning of Christmas can bring the good out of people who are kind of nasty. Yeah, remember those kids who were ruthless to Charlie Brown about that small tree, but then they had a change of heart when they embraced its simplicity and turned it into something beautiful? Well, this is Matt and Trey's way of giving that same message, only this time, they're using one of the most ruthless, evil bastards to ever live, and making him have a change of heart after embracing the true meaning of Christmas. That's something South Park will always excel at. Going to places no one would dare go to and actually managing to make it work. It's one episode that shows the black comedic and satirical genius that lives in the South Park creators.
Merry Christmas, Charlie Manson! I'm the heralding to sing, glory to the newborn King.
Christmas time is once a year. Every critter holds it dear.
Ah yes, the first ever South Park Christmas episode. And it introduced one of South Park's most famous side characters. Yeah, like you can't guess who it is. In this episode, Kyle's mother is, shockingly, outraged about her son playing Joseph in the school play about Jesus' birth, since he's not Christian. And when asked to sing a song that's not Christian, Kyle tells him about the Mr. Hankey song.
I can sing the Mr. Hankey song.
The Mr. Hankey song, how does that go?
Mr. Hankey, the Christmas Poo, he loves me and I love you. Christmas Poo.
Yeah, this goes over about as well as you would think, with everyone thinking Kyle is crazy. Well, Mr. Hankey actually appears to Kyle, but since no one believes in Mr. Hankey, everyone else sees him as nothing but a lifeless piece of shit. And Kyle is seen as insane and locked away in a mental institution while the townspeople start following in Kyle's mom's footsteps and try to take all the religion out of Christmas.
Wait, there's a star above the stage. That's very offensive to non-Christians.
Oh, come on!
Hey, don't push your beliefs on me, buddy.
Now, while this episode sounds pretty mean-spirited, it's actually a really memorable and really interesting episode because it gives colorful commentary on how people will go to such extremes to get their ways and how that can easily backfire. When the kids do put on the play, it's so boring and stupid because all the stuff that made it great got taken out by hypersensitive fuckwads who were offended by stuff they had no reason to be offended by in the first place. Hey, what do you know? South Park was making fun of SJWs before everyone else was. That's the power of South Park, baby. And this episode also has some really nice musical scores that seem to capture a little bit of Christmas spirit in them. Kyle's song, Lonely Jew on Christmas, has one of the most soothing melodies of any South Park song.
It's hard to be a Jew on Christmas. My friends won't let me join in any games. And I can't sing Christmas songs or decorate a Christmas tree.
And who can forget this song?
Mr. Hankey, the Christmas Poo, he loves me, I love you.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I was humming that song a lot when I was a kid. Yeah, I may have gotten a detention or two because of that. This episode also introduced the first ever draft of everyone's favorite South Park song.
the whole wide world, she's a stupid bitch. If there ever was a bitch, she's a bitch to all the boys and girls.
Yeah, this song would become a lot more popular after the movie came out. And it was also the first episode where good old Kenny didn't die, despite all the foreshadowing. See, that's how you keep a joke fresh. You put as many twists on it as you possibly can, and you keep the audience guessing. To sum up this episode, it's without a doubt one of South Park's greatest Christmas classics.
Mr. Hankey. Well, I've got a long night ahead of me. Bye-bye and Merry Christmas.
Goodbye, Mr. Hankey.
Christmas time is once a year. Every critter holds it dear.
Oh yeah, you already knew this would be the best Christmas special. This episode is one of South Park's most well-known episodes because it's such a bizarre, creative, ingenious little episode. This episode is basically about Stan coming across some seemingly lovely and peaceful animal characters that have some of the best names ever.
There was Squirrely the squirrel, Rabbity the rabbit, Beavery the beaver, and Barry the bear, Porcupiney the porcupine, Skunky the skunk, Foxy the fox, and Deary the deer.
And it's all done as a classic Christmas nursery rhyme story, with Stan being the main focus of the story, and a narrator constantly pestering him to get involved with these over-the-top lovely characters.
Hi, Daddy! Oh, what?
His friends were all there! What a wonderful surprise! The little boy smiled with joy in his eyes.
What time is it?
And that's all I can say about it. Well, I'm sorry, I can't say any more. Not because there's nothing to talk about, there's a shit ton to talk about. But this episode throws so many twists and turns in that if I named just one twist, I'd have to name all the other ones for that one twist to make sense. And that just takes all the fun out of the episode. Here, I'll just sum it up like this. It's an episode that worked in Christmas nursery rhymes, an oral report, orphan cubs, Jews being bad, Santa being a badass, and Satanism into an actual coherent story that not only makes total sense once you watch it, but is so entertaining and hilarious that you find yourself laughing at almost every turn. If you've seen it, you know why it's the best. If you haven't, you need to in order to understand why it's the best. There's only one word I can use to sum up this episode. Legendary.
It's almost time when the time is here. The time that's only once a year. We can hardly wait cause it's so near. A woodland critter Christmas.
And that was my worst to first of the South Park Christmas specials. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you all have big plans for 2017. Now, do I have anything big planned for that year? Actually, I have a few big plans for that year. So much so that I'm going to talk about them in my next video. But here's the first big plan I have that I'm going to put into effect right now. A new avatar. Whoa! Hey, not bad. I could definitely get used to this. Now, this excellent new avatar was created by my friend Jankybones. You guys should really check out some of her work. It's really kick-ass. I'll leave the links to her Tumblr, Twitter, and YouTube in the description below if you guys want to show your support for her. Thanks for this new avatar, Bones, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you in 2017.